Welcome to the Human 5.0 Project, the podcast where we cut straight to the breakthroughs that matter, the show where science meets self-optimization. I'm your host, Ultimate Biohacker 10X, and here we break down the real research, real data, and real dosing behind modern biohacking, from compounds and peptides to techniques, devices, lifestyle strategies, and performance protocols. Most people jump in and jump out before they get the gold, so we're keeping it tight and delivering the essential insights you need without the fluff. If you've taken the time to hit play, we'll make sure you walk away with valuable knowledge that can transform your approach to longevity, health optimization, and beyond.
You're in the mirror at 5:47 a.m. Lights up, shirt off. Yep, that lower belly fat still mocking you. You've optimized your sleep, you've crushed your training, you've tracked every macro to the gram. Run the GLP-1s, the fasted cardio, the cold plunges. Scale hasn't moved in weeks. Then the peptide groups light up. AOD-9604, the actual fat-burning fragment of HGH. Melts visceral fat, no IGF-1 spike, no water retention, no bullshit. You buy the vial, reconstitute, pin 300 mics, and in your head, you're already rewriting the next summer. Abs out, stage ready, 10x recomp complete. But here's the uncomfortable question. Is AOD-9604 the real signal? Or is the hype hallucinating? Because if the data is noisy, your stack, yep, it's noise too. Today, we're doing what 99% of the biohacker crowd never does. We're ripping open every human trial, the 50 million development story, the 2012 GRAS self-affirmation, the December 4th, 2024 FDA PCAC meeting where Dr. Edwin Lee stood up, and the cold citation-backed verdict on whether this peptide is a scalpel or just another expensive myth. No hype, no affiliate links, no peptide bro science, just raw data. This is Ultimate Biohacker 10X, and welcome to the Human 5.0 Project. You ready? Let's do this and lock it in. But before we do, mandatory signal before the noise. This is educational only and not medical advice. AOD-9604 is research grade only. It's never FDA approved for any human use. Sold strictly for laboratory research, not human consumption. Human use is experimental, carries unknown long-term risks, sourcing dangers, and is banned by WADA. Consult a licensed physician, please. Get baseline and follow-up blood work. Know your country's laws. This episode is for trend tracking and education only. Cool? Okay, now let's lock in. Let's strip this down to molecular reality. AOD-9604 is a 16 amino acid peptide sliced from the C-terminus of human growth hormone. Amino acids number 177 to 191, plus a tyrosine tag for stability. It was developed in the late 90s in Australia by Dr. Frank Ng and team at Metabolic Pharmaceuticals. What was the mission? Isolate the lipolytic fat-burning domain of HGH without the IGF-1 spike, without the glucose crash, and without the acromegaly risk. Key fact that separates it from actual growth hormone, it doesn't raise IGF-1. That was shown early and repeatedly in the preclinical work. No mitogenic signal, no water retention, just the fat-burning fragment. So how does it work? Two pathways, both clean. First, it directly stimulates lipolysis. It breaks down stored triglycerides into free fatty acids, and they're used for energy. Second, it inhibits lipogenesis, stops the formation of new fat cells, and prevents storage before it starts. Third layer, it does upregulate beta-3 adrenergic receptors on fat cells. What does this mean to you? Your own catecholamines, adrenaline, noradrenaline, they hit harder. Your fasted cardio becomes more effective. Your metabolic signal strengthens. Animal data was clean. Obese rodents lost weight and fat mass with zero insulin resistance. And that was Heffernan et al. In Endocrinology in 2001. Pretty solid preclinical foundation. But animals aren't humans, and this is where the story gets interesting. Between 2001 and 2007, Metabolic Pharmaceuticals ran 6 randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trials. Total subjects, 925. Total investment, over $50 million. This wasn't garage-grade biohacking. This was real pharma R&D. Best result? 2005 Phase 2b, Wittert et al. Published in Diabetes. 1 milligram oral daily, obese adults, 12 weeks, Result, 2.8 kilogram lost versus 0.8 kilogram placebo. Definitely statistically significant at the time, and the market got excited. But here's where the story pivots. The larger 24-week follow-up, it missed the primary endpoint. The signal faded, efficacy wasn't robust enough to justify a blockbuster obesity drug. Development was shelved, the compound went back to the bench. Safety paper. Steyer, Voss, and Kenley in the Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, 2013, summed up the risk profile from these 925 patients. No negative effect on carbohydrate metabolism. 0 anti-AOD-9604 antibodies detected in any patient. Side effects statistically indistinguishable from placebo. Translation, extremely clean safety data, but efficacy modest. Real, but modest. June 2012. The developers, Calzada and Metabolic Pharmaceuticals, did something interesting. They self-affirmed GRAS, or generally recognized as safe, for oral use in foods, drinks, and dietary supplements up to 1 milligram per day. Verified by an independent panel of U.S. experts based on that entire 925 patient safety dataset. Important decode here. GRAS is oral dietary ingredient only. It does not apply to injectable forms. It does not mean FDA drug approval. It does not mean therapeutic claims are allowed. But it does mean the safety data was solid enough that an expert panel signed off on it going into your protein bars and functional beverages. Most biohackers do not know this. They're pinning it and thinking they're on the edge. The oral data exists. The injectable path is a different regulatory animal entirely. Now, let's jump forward. December 4th, 2024. FDA Pharmacy Compounding Advisory Committee meeting. Room packed with regulators, endocrinologists, and policy people. Dr. Edwin Lee, a board-certified endocrinologist with no affiliation with supplement companies, stands up to testify on AOD-9604. The question, should AOD-9604 be added to the 503A bulks list, allowing compounding pharmacies to produce it legally for patients? The committee voted unanimously no. Reasoning? Immunogenicity risks, impurities detected in compounded injectable samples, and lack of standardized manufacturing controls. Dr. Lee's exact words, which we pulled from the transcript, not a weight loss peptide, safe, adjuvant therapy, can help improve body composition. Not a condemnation, but not an endorsement for clinical use either. The regulatory door remains closed. It stays research grade only. Strong disclaimer re-up here. This is not a recommendation, not a prescription, not safe for everyone. Do your own due diligence with a qualified physician who understands peptides. That said, here's what the research protocols show. Typical research dosing, 250 to 500 micrograms subcutaneous, abdomen or thigh, once a day, morning fasted. Rotate sites. More than 500 microgram adds nothing. Receptor saturation hits early. Cycles, 8 to 12 weeks on, 4 to 8 weeks off. Any visible body composition shift, when it happens, usually shows after 6 to 8 weeks of consistent use, but only on top of an already dialed diet and training program. Timing, morning fasted aligns with natural cortisol and catecholamine peaks. Some protocols split dose, AM and pre-bed, but data doesn't strongly support this. So let's look at biohacker 10x stacking. Solo use? Subtle. This is the truth. Paired? Well, that's where biohackers play, but smartly. CJC 1295 and ipamorelin? You get growth hormone pulse from pituitary and direct fat cell burn from AOD. So you can attack fat from two vectors. Tesamorelin? Well, it's proven visceral fat specialist. FDA did approve for HIV lipodystrophy, the only peptide in this class with that level of clinical validation. BPC 157 and or TB 500, joint and tendon protection during hard cuts. Calorie deficit stresses the connective tissue, and these buffer that. Semaglutide or tirzepatide, well, they lead to appetite control and the GLP-1 GIP synergy with fat metabolism. It's a different mechanism, same goal. MOTSC, that's your mitochondrial efficiency peptide. Early data is interesting for energy utilization during the deficit. Blood work is mandatory. glucose, lipids, IGF-1, CRP, inflammatory markers, baseline and follow-up. If you're not testing, that's right, you're guessing. In those 925 patient trials, it was cleaner than most peptides. Reported effects: mild injection site redness, occasional first week headache or nausea that resolved, no edema, no carpal tunnel, no blood sugar problems. What wasn't seen? No IGF-1 elevation, no glucose dysregulation, and no antibody formation. Real-world risks: sourcing is the biggest variable. Impurities, underdosing, fakes. If you don't know your source, you don't know your molecule. Long-term data doesn't exist. Human use outside of trials maxes out at about 15 years of anecdotal reports. Take that for what it's worth. WADA, banned at all times, classified as a growth hormone fragment. A positive test, career's over. Athletes, this is no debate. All right, let's look at a head-to-head here. AOD-9604 versus the competition. First up, tesamorelin. Tesamorelin wins on visceral fat data. FDA approval means something. AOD is unproven in comparison. Next, CJC 1295. This races GH and IGF-1. It has a broader anabolic effect. AOD is cleaner but narrower. 5-amino-1-MQ, different mechanism entirely. It's an NNMT inhibitor. It's an NAD plus booster. Early data is promising but thin. AOD has 925 humans behind it. HGA fragment 176-191. It's nearly identical. AOD has the tyrosine tag for stability. Some debate which is more active. Data is insufficient to call it in either direction. Here's the truth they won't sell you in the peptide Facebook groups. AOD-9604 is not a miracle. It is not spot reduction. It will not save a bad diet. It will not melt visceral fat like tesamorelin. It will not give you the systemic recomp of CJC 1295 with ipamorelin. It is a supporting actor, a modest plateau breaker, an adjuvant therapy when your nutrition, training, sleep, and stress are already 10x. Those are Dr. Edwin Lee's words. If you're already lean, disciplined, and blood work optimized, it might give you a slight edge, a few percent, or a nudge. If you're not, this is expensive noise. Quick 5-point checklist here. Physician consultation and baseline blood work, non-negotiable. Legal and WADA check, know your sport, know your country. Source only from licensed compounding pharmacies, never random websites, never Telegram group buys. Manage expectations, modest enhancement, not transformation. Remember, GRAS is oral supplement only. Injectable is research only. These are different legal and safety categories. That's the signal. Everything else is noise. The peptide space is full of people selling hope in vials, and our job here is to separate the actual mechanism from the marketing mechanism. AOD-9604 has a real mechanism, real safety data, real but modest human trials. Is it worth running? Depends on your baseline, depends on your goals, and depends on your risk tolerance. But now you've got the data, the full story, the FDA transcript, the $50 million development arc, and the 2024 regulatory reality. Use it or don't, but don't use it blind. Stay consistent, stay skeptical, stay tracked. This is Ultimate Biohacker 10X, and I'm out. Thanks for listening to the Human 5.0 Project.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready to elevate their biology. Make sure to follow the show for weekly deep dives into peptides, protocols, devices, lifestyle strategies, and the science of high-performance longevity. Until next time, stay curious, stay optimized, and stay 10X.